Taylor. H.M. Taylor brought up this same resolution in the House of Assembly. But it died for the want of a seconder. Now you had people sitting there, Gerald Cash, you had Boyd Cambridge, you had other independents there. Well, they were all independents. They were all independents at the time because you didn't have any party government. But it died for the want of a seconder. Now, in those days, when two persons represent one district, one is senior and one is junior, the one with the most votes the senior member. The senior member then for Long Island was Lauren Python. But he refused to second the motion, Taylor's motion. That died. In January '56, the Pews grabbed it. And he brought it to the floor. But now
the motion for what now?
The button?
This is the motion for
to ban victimization in public places and discrimination. Mm-hmm. Discrimination in public places. Then we started to move up.
So the middle class
started to buy a car.
Long before the 70s.
Pardon?
So the middle class structure became prominent long before the 1970s.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that is today, what you got to look at. What you have to look at today is that we fought hard for this middle class thing, and the middle class is always the backbone of any economy in any country. Mm-hmm. I don't care where it is. Yeah. But we're losing our spots.
Yeah, well, Christy was talking about
it. A bunch of these black, the black middle class people now are going back down, they're slipping back down. Mm-hmm. They're like somebody put joy or something on the pole, they can't go up no further, they're coming back down.
The middle class that you say that your generation, your people created, was done with people who worked hard and made it happen.
Worked hard.
Their own bootstraps.
Right.
The middle class that we have has been a middle class created predominantly by the offshore banking system, people who in fact invested into the Bahamas, and we got good jobs and got high-paid jobs.
Right.
That's the new version of the middle class.
Right.
Which is now slipping because, as you said, it is slipping because of the fact that the bottom has fallen out of the various markets and the various economies around the world, and money's an investment in offshore banking. We've lost a lot of that to other jurisdictions now. So Christy was just at the United Nations the other day saying to them that you got to stop putting all this pressure on our little banking system and those of the Caribbean because we're losing out to some other big territories.
But what happened? What happened? We got to look at. You see, what happened with these governments? You find people, the banking institution were like IMF and all of these people. Mm-hmm. They gladly loan you money, you know.
Yes,
they gladly loan you money till you get hooked. They got all of these what you call banana republics and black governments over the world hooked because they let them and they took a stage. I remember, on the 11th. Of January 1967, mm-hmm. You know, when the UBP lost, we were $15 million in the black, and we owed nobody. Now, 15 million in those days was, hey, it's a gang of money. Mm-hmm. That gang of money.
Yeah.
But I know back in the days when I was a boy, sometimes the government used to have to bought their the civil service pay was around 15,000 pounds a month, and sometimes they had to borrow that from the merchants mm-hmm. to pay. Mm-hmm. You understand? And even coming back closer to now, in the Pindling era, he had to borrow money to pay the civil service, and certain people, certain supporters, a number of fellas, number people. Mm. They loan him the money, but they got paid back in Crown land, and that's the result. You see, so many of the people own so much Crown land in the country today. That was monies that they loaned the government. The government had to pay them back in land.
Yeah, because the government didn't have the liquid cash.
And then there was a time, especially in the Pindling era again, where if it wasn't for drugs, the drug money was running the country.
The false economy of the 80s.
Of course,
mm-hmm.
Of course.
Yeah, but there was also a time, and people who are listening in today would say that, well, you know, Errington Bumpy Watkins always had this beef with Pindling. History has you written down as one of those persons who was largely responsible or very much influential with the movement in Abaco to break away from the Bahamas when it came to the idea of independence. And that history also says that there was somebody on a bridge somewhere where Pindling was speaking that let off some dynamite and caused some explosion. And in my mind, they never said it was Bumpy Watkins, but in my mind and many Bahamas people's minds, they put you front and center at the place where that explosion was. Talk to me about that secessionist movement and all that. What is that all about? What was it about? Why did you all want to do what you did at the time? Was it just because you couldn't deal with a Linding Pindling coming in to be the prime minister and the government of the Bahamas at the time under the PLP? What was it?
No such
Let me
thing.
hear from the living.
Remember, in that era, I was a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
I was a police officer. And before that period, when we had no political parties and whatnot, the governor was in charge of the police force.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The governor.
And the colonial secretary was in charge of the civil service.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we never had a problem. If the commissioner of police needed something for the force, he would report to the governor. In fact, a friend of mine who has a yearly report from in 1937 to Errington Bumpy, who was incidentally the first person to carry the title of Commissioner of Police. Errington Bumpy.
Mm-hmm.
It's in 1937. He took over from a fellow called Weeble, who was the last commandant of police.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the governor would see that they get the police force get what they want, and the commissioner would see that they do their duties. And since I'm on that, there were 1 minute here to say as far the responsibilities of the police. The police force is, to preserve peace and retain law and order in the country. They're supposed to be on duty 24/7. 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
In the old days when I joined, we work 6 days and get off 1 for 1 year. Then you work 24 hours and you get off 24 hours. But there were times when you go on duty. For instance, in 55, 57 and 58, I stood to for 24 days. Never bathed, never changed my clothes. On duty for 24 days. And I never heard anybody grumble that we were tired. I never heard anybody asking for overtime pay. There was no such thing as overtime pay. I didn't hear anything about that. It was dedication to the job. See, people today look at the police force as a job. It's not a job. Police force is not a job. Those who in it think that it's a job, it's time for them to get out. The police force is a profession, just like a nurse, just like a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You're bound to your duty. If you can't do it, you don't have loyalty, then get out. If you're only in it for money, get out. Time should mean nothing to a policeman.
So when you hear them today talking about, since you diverted it, and you hear them talking about they are overworked and they're tired and they need a break and they need to be better compensated and they're not being fed properly as they're working this extended shift now, the 12-hour shift to try to bring crime down, you frown on that?
Say that they're not fed properly? But look, in my day when you go on a family island, you didn't have no telephone or anything like that, and you had no money, the force didn't have any money for you, live off the land. Like a soldier, you live off the land, you learn how to catch crab and whatnot when you're hungry and roast them. And you got your duty to do. You have your duty to do. If you're out there looking for criminals in the bush, don't worry about food. Don't worry about food. Learn, eat top head. Look for wild sapodilly. You have to learn to live off the land.
Bumpy Watkins, they tell you that these are modern times. Things are different now, and we're more sophisticated, and we have rules, laws, unions, all that kind of
stuff. All right, I see you have unions. You got a union in the police force. This is wrong. And I
They call it a union, they call it an association.
They could call it, like, if it's any kind of association, it should have been a welfare association, not a staff association, where the president of the union can call press conferences, make press releases. What is the force coming to? And the question, the commissioner of police is boss of the force. He would say who should make press release, and he will dedicate officers to do that job. He will detail officers to do that job. And you have a sergeant or an inspector making press releases, and saying what they want. And not only this, they're threatening to sue the government. They said threatening to sue the government. And the only thing I am not happy about, I'm unhappy about is that Hubert Egan should have been here because he was responsible for this. He's responsible for this, and let him sue him.
You mean the
association? It's the most idiotic. He don't, because he's chairman. Look, see what the man is saying. He's elected. And the commissioner of police, this is where your insubordination come in. So commissioner of police was appointed. The commissioner of police was constitutionally appointed.
Absolutely.
Constitutionally appointed. You understand what I mean? Just like the prime minister fella seemed to be drunk or intoxicated with power. He see visionary. He see, hey, I'm a big fella here. You know, I'm just as high as the commissioner of police because I could hold a press conference. And if I was commissioner, first press conference he tried, that would have been his last. That would have been two. His first and his last. Would now not no more press conference. He wouldn't have no more. He wouldn't have no more. And you see, you need to be. It's all right to be soft with fellas, with these youngsters today, but in this world of violence and this world of everybody seeking for power, when you're in control, you got to take control. You understand what I mean? This young man
is taking control.
This young man is out of control.
But do you think Greenslade is taking control? Do you think Greenslade is taking control?
The commissioner is being lenient with him, and I give, of course, now another thing again, I say this may be a case like the judge. The commissioner may be giving him enough rope for him to hang himself. You understand what I mean? That's another way of looking at it too.
True.
The commissioner may be giving, commissioner called him in.
Long rope for a short catch.
Short catch, right. The commissioner called him in, talked to him. The prime minister said that he should do this, do certain things. The Minister of National Insurance said that he should do certain things.
National Security.
You understand what I mean? Now, they're going to give him, what I believe they're doing is giving him enough rope to hang himself. And you know the story, old people used to say, the higher a monkey climbs, the more he exposes himself. You understand what I mean? Good. The fact that nobody really is saying so, but when he go on with this and they pull him to heels, give him the idea that, well, he's on the right track. They're afraid of him.
Hi there.
Hello.
How you doing today?
I do the best I can.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, this is my
beyond the airways, you understand? Because he's not a role model for anybody. He's not a role model for anybody. And for him to go ahead and do something like that, and don't tell me, I don't buy the story that somebody passed it on to him. You understand what I'm saying? I don't buy that story at all.
You think
I don't buy that. That is plain mischief as far as I'm concerned.
You think he could just concoct it?
Yes. He's looking for attention. You know, I was to a forum some months ago down to St. Joseph school, and this character, he came in. The MC said you have 3 minutes, and he went on with a whole bunch of damn foolishness, a whole bunch of foolishness, and then he started. All he wanted to draw his attention, and when they asked him to move, he started being an argument. The police started dragging him out of there. You understand what I mean? And people like these shouldn't be in public. And especially, you know, somebody who a miscreant, I would say, who did what he did. You understand what I mean? To a senior citizen refused. Up to this day, the woman hasn't been paid back her money. And this dude is all over the airwaves telling people about who he is and Mr. This and Mr. That. And And I said, Daddy shouldn't be on airways.
What you talking about? But you talking about that case from a long time ago?
Yes. When he was disbarred for that. He was disbarred for that. And he hasn't paid the woman back yet.
You sure with that? No, I think he paid her back.
As far as I know.
Well, anyway, the point is that
be in politics. And he know that Kenneth was going to lose. Because he's one of the fellas who was supporting me. But he figured now, if he had gone with me, the opposition, I would have had five members. Kenneth had 4, that means the opposition would have switched. I would have been leader of the opposition with my 4 members. And they would have just been...
Yeah, opposition.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I put the motion forward. And it was seconded. He didn't, and it's called for vote. He voted with Isaacs and the PFE. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
He voted with the Isaac group, which kept 5 in his group. And I only had 4 in mine. But the PFE didn't get involved in that argument at all. That debate was strictly between F&M members. So when it comes to a vote, the PFP voted with Isaacs and his crew. So I lost. But Isaacs resigned the next day. Now, remember, at this particular time, I believe this is the only country in the world, and still is. I've never heard about anybody else. We had 2 leaders. 2 leaders at one time.
2
leaders.
The country or 2 opposition?
Ken Isaacs was the leader in the House, and Wallace Whitfield was the leader outside the House. He was national leader. So when Kennedy resigned, it was his job to appoint a leader in the House. And to my friend's surprise, Cecil appointed Cyril Tynes, as the leader, and Homeboy was still out in the cold. Shortly after that, I got expelled. Sir Roland Simmons, Mike Lightman, and Cleo Fazali. They were the ones who supported me. But Kendall had resigned. He had resigned. Then Cecil then was sole leader because he appointed somebody that he could control.
Understood.
You understand what I mean? Right. Good. Now, during this period, Pindling decided that he'd go to Abaco to hold a rally. Went there earlier, George Smith and all rose along with him, and they had a tree planting ceremony and whatnot in Marsh Harbour. That evening, about some minutes to 7, it was just getting dark. I called a meeting at the same time. They were having a meeting on the dock, so I called a meeting for the park to keep the...
This is in proximity.
Right. But of course, I called, the crowd was on the park, but we didn't start any meeting because everybody was busy listening to what was carried on up there. And there's a police sergeant there, he came, he was talking to me, and he kept it close to me. And I guess that was on instructions too, you know. But I went to get a cool drink, and one of the fellas came over to me and said, "Chief, there's be some hell in here tonight." What happened? He said, "Boy, tin top full of dynamite under the dock." Marsh Harbour. I said, "Yeah, who put it there?" He said, "That's already there." I said, "Well, you know, what part is it?" He told me what pile in it was 2 and whatnot. That's okay. I went back and I told the sergeant, I got to go to the bathroom. I left and I drove down within close proximity to the dock and get in the shade in a bushy area. I parked my car, took off my clothes, and I waited out there on the dock. Sure enough, the tin top was there. I unloosed it, and the tide was going down, so I started walking down the harbour. And when I asked him what time it was supposed to go off, and he said around about 5 minutes to 8. So when I got down and saw the time, I pushed it up in the middle. The tide was going. I just pushed it in the middle of the harbour, and I rushed back, put on my clothes, and I went back. When I got back, me and the sergeant were talking, and all of a sudden, the ground shook. The damn explosion went. The whole ground shook. And the sergeant dropped on me. He almost choked me to death. Hanging on to me, he said, "What was that?" I don't know. I don't know. And then, but before the explosion, a couple of fellas said to me, "We were running low on sodas, and they were going out to get some." And they went. 4 fellas. They went together. And apparently, when the explosion went off, they were coming back, and the police stopped them and locked them up, take them in, and. After a while, an assistant superintendent came there and wanted to know where I was, and the sergeant told him I was right there. So he said anything but that, he left. And then again, about 5 minutes later, another explosion. So after the news got around that these 4 fellas would lock up, Old Bunyan Key had an outside toilet not too far from the station. That went up. That was
another explosion. So this thing that would happen on the dock where Pindling walked.
If that dynamite had gone off onto that dock, that would have been an ocean hole there, and you wouldn't have had a living soul left there. And that, I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that. But that those dynamite sticks was this thick, about this long, and if you remember, just a month previous to that, a ship loaded with dynamite ran aground off, hole in the wall.
Right.
Hole in the wall. And they sent all over, they sent to England some people. When they came back, when they brought the express to unload the ship, wasn't a damn thing on it. All the dynamite was gone.
So somebody took the dynamite?
Oh, yeah, they took it and put it someplace, yeah.
So basically, based on what you're telling me, many years later, because that happened, that was what, 70, that was 71, 72? Where was that?
When?
With the dynamite blowing up.
By 70, 72,
72, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that after all these years, that we learned that Bumpy Watkins was basically a quiet hero, based on your account, that if you would have gone up there, wade in the water in your birthday suit, and pushed the dynamite from there and put it out someplace else so it wouldn't harm anybody.
Well, let me put it.
I assume that.
Obviously, yeah, but let me put it this way: I wasn't worried about being no hero or anything like that. I just didn't want. I didn't mind leading this revolution,
right.
But I really didn't want any violence. You understand what I mean? Now, what I'm saying to you is that I'm a Bahamian, and it would have been all Bahamians blown up there. But as a person, there's very little I like about Pindling, but as a politician, he was a master. I admire him as a politician. He didn't leave any stone unturned. When he put his teeth into something, he put it in there. He was a good politician. And we sat down and we talked about it afterwards. I mean, I had other incidents with him where people accused me of I was searching his house for a bomb that was supposed to be inside the house. And then I was accused of putting it there.
Is that right?
You know what I mean?
When did that happen?
And he
that
knew.
Happened in the late 70s?
That was in... No, I was in the force. That was in the force. I was in force, and that was in '69.
Okay.
Around
this is so
around the '60s, huh?
This is when he was...
Yeah. But then again, he instead of when I went to him and said, "Well, look," but I told the commissioner, "Look, let the prime minister sort this out." And he said, "The prime minister said, don't worry about it." So I went to see him, and he said, "Man, don't worry about it. That's just them fellas and them ladies, But that suited him. That suited him as a politician. That to mark me if anything happened.
Yeah, it's Bumpy.
Yeah, you're right. Right. That's the kind of fella he was.
So did you feel like a marked man during the whole time of the Pindling era?
Pardon?
Did you feel like a marked man?
I was a marked man. I had many attempts made on my life and all that, but I didn't worry about that. Politics is when you join the force, when you put your name on that dotted line, you put your life there. Like you leave in the morning to go to work, you don't know if you're coming back alive. So that is something to worry about. I never worry about it because it's the only thing in life I'm sure of. You understand what I mean?
Sure.
So I never worry about it.
Yeah.
But I'm not like other people like, in that sense of the word. I don't pay much attention to death at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's come because as far as I'm concerned, every time I go to sleep, I'm dead.
Yeah. So the secessionists in our the people were like, what? They trying to kill Pindling over there, such and such. Did it just fall away? Did people just back off from it? What happened to the movement to make Abaco a
Nobody back off.
Bahamas?
Nobody back off.
Mm-hmm.
I've had, when I back, I tell you when I back off, after I had the conference in England with the people, and your buddy ain't there, Kelsey Johnson was there with a team, room number 8 in the House of Commons, and I refused to let the meeting start. I refused to take part in the meeting as long as Kelsey and his head and his team was there, so they threw them out. You know, but I know that was a setup, and then wanted, he never taken any chance. He wanted to know exactly what was happening and whatnot. And I had no intention of talking in front of him. But I was told then that it was a waste of time. It's a waste of time. That the British government, the mind is made up, and they cannot financially take care of the burden anymore.
Yeah,
We are on our
Abaco
own.
wanted to stay with the crown, with the British government.
Pardon?
Abaco, the secessionists, their idea was
They want to stay colonial territory.
Colonial territory.
Right.
and while the other country, other parts.
And of course you couldn't blame them at the time. Listen, at the time, if you, Steve McKinney, had crossed Pindling, and you were waiting for the government, and you got all your family working in different areas of the government, when you wake up next morning, your job gone and all the day's gone.
Is that really true now?
What do you mean it's really true?
You live this? This actually happened to people?
What? Well, you don't know. You don't know. It was racism in reverse, but it was hard and harsher than anything the white man could come up with in them days. You hear Loftus Roker making noise over the place now, but look at Loftus when Pindling fell out with Loftus, with 80 and 80 right up there. 80, you remember when he resigned? Loftus was gone. Chauncey Tynes was the treasurer of the PFP. He was gone. Loftus Roker was gone. 80 Hannah, who was in line for Commissioner of Police, he was gone. That's the way they operate. They didn't leave fragments behind to get rid of all. It isn't like a doctor operating for cancer and leaving some inside. They didn't get all one time.
He was a good political surgeon.
Oh yeah, he is very, very good political surgeon.
But he did. I hear what you're saying, and I'm sure that there are all kinds of different parts to the man Pindling. But by and large, Pindling was good for the Bahamas, wasn't he?
What?
By and large, Pindling was good for the Bahamas, wasn't he?
Say, by and large, the way you look at it, by and large, Pindling was good for him and his crowd. Him and his crowd. If you look at the people who really made it. They were confidants of Pindling or Pindling's close relatives or whatnot. It was all for me, baby. It was all for me. When that minister made that statement, he wasn't joking. And you look at today, look at the families. You've been around a long time. Look at the black families that financially you're talking about. Who were they connected to? Pindling. So come on, man. Come on. Let's be real. Let's be real. Don't beat around the bush.
Couldn't the same be said of Sir Stafford Sands and the UBP crew?
What?
Couldn't the same be said of them and the UBP crew that they looked out for friends, family, and lovers, and they did what they did, and to the detriment of many and thousands?
Of course, yes. But at least some fragments were left on the side for others. Other people made it on the edge. But here, you didn't make on the edge, and that here, these fellas, if anything dropped, they're coming back for it. They carry on with them.
So you basically, Bumpy Watkins was a big player with the United Bahamian Party, with Jeffrey Johnstone and that particular grouping at that particular time. You were the chairman of the party.
Yeah.
You had a major role to play in the country, and this is your post days of being a policeman.
Yes.
And you never really regretted being a part of the United Bahamian Party. Are you still UBP today?
Huh?
Are you still UBP today? In philosophy?
I say, I mean, I haven't. You see, money to pay his ticket to go from one place to the next.
Yeah.
And he got on the train somehow. And when they discovered he didn't have a ticket, they threw him off. And that was a blessing to him because I saw there was two stores there, one on one side of the street and the other one, and the other was struggling. And he went to the big store to get to get equipment and
To do mine.
Yes, you know, to for them to, then to fix him up with food stuff and supplies and whatnot. And it didn't, but the big store didn't. So he went across to the other store, and a small man outfit him. And lo and behold, he struck gold. And it is said that when he came back, he made the little fella, but put him up big in business. In fact, the business was so big that he put the other man out of business, the one that didn't loan him the money. But he ended up in the Bahamas. Now, and if you look out in the Grove, West Bay Street, down here, that used to be, when I was a boy, a sisal plantation. He started sisal there, and he used to
Precisely what they used to make rope out of.
Yes.
Very
The higher,
material.
it's our island people, and he had farms and whatnot, and out by the caves, he had farms out there, and he used to bring people from the island. Men were getting good pay at that time, 4 shillings a day. Women were getting 2 shillings a day, which 2 shillings about 27 cents now. But in those days it was something.
Plenty of money.
And then he also had a chicken farm. And the story goes that one day he went to the British Hotel after work and wanted a drink or something, and the bartender refused to serve him because he's supposed to be dressed. They don't. But he's always in a khaki. I could see him now with an old khaki helmet, and it seemed like he went, when you go in the gold rush, dressed the same way. That's the same, so brown shoes and long socks.
He wasn't polished.
Right, and the bartender wouldn't serve him, so he called the maitre d', and the maitre d' wouldn't serve him. So he asked, who owned the hotel, and they told him that people had the lease in New York. He got the number, and he called him and asked if they wanted to sell the lease. If they wanted to sell the lease, and they said yes. They apparently got. So he contacted his lawyers in New York, and then he fired the maitre d' and the bartender and all, and then that's how they got control of the
Which is still in
British
the
Colonial
outstanding
Hotel,
plan,
yes,
right?
yes.
Which is
And
still
they
outstanding.
had, in fact, they had it until the Ingram administration sold it, and then they had a 30-year lease on it when the Ingram administration sold it. But it is a little war, a little thing going on. He was a member of the House Assembly too. He was a member of the House for Western District.
Harry?
Harry, yeah, he was a member of the House for Western District, New Providence at the time, and they had the casino here. When he was on West Bay Street, they moved to Paradise Island after they started.
The beach.
Yeah, and but that's only a 6-week thing, just gamble.